we're going to do things a little differently in this video. Instead of me coding, explaining it, and then you following along, I've gone ahead and I've coded up some examples beforehand, and I'm just going to uncomment them and explain it as I go along. So this will be a quick explanation of what you can do in terms of drawing on the UI view. So in our previous video, we've gone ahead and we've created this square here and this random shape that shows you how to kind of curve things or curve your drawing or path within the view. And I've gone ahead and I just place that into a method here so that we can clean things up a little, and that is currently the only uncommented example in here. So what I'll do is I'll just comment that out, and I'm going to show you how to use that add arc with center. And this method basically allows you to quickly draw circles or curves within your view. So it's very handy, and it's actually really similar to the arc method within JavaScript. So if you have any experience with using JavaScript's canvas, then this will actually be very familiar to you. So most of the syntax here is very similar to what you would run within JavaScript. So instead of passing in the X and Y for your center, you're passing in the center as a CG point within UIKit. So that's the only difference here. Now let's jump into the code here and see what you can do. So I'll expand this circle example that I have here. And if you take a look at it, we have a circle 1 and a circle 2. Now the first one is going to be a larger circle that is containing the second circle. And you'll notice some differences between the end angle here. And I'll go ahead and I'll boot this up so that I can show you exactly what's going on. So let's exit out of the simulator, restart that baby up, and then let me go ahead and just start running through this real quick. The first thing we set here would be the bounds. So this is set to the current view bounds. So these bounds right here. Then we have the center point. This is a struct. So you're going to have to create a new instance of it. And so we set that to the variable center. Then this struct contains an X and a Y property. We've taken the width and we've divided it by 2. And then we've done the same thing for the Y value here, but with the height. Next, we're setting the radius. The radius is going to be 1/4 of the width of the bounds. Then we set up our path just like we did before with the square and the other object that we created. And then we're using this add arc with center. Now this add arc with center is the new method here that we're going to focus on. So you're allowed to pass through a center point, which would be the center of these circles and would be that struct that we created previously. Then we set up the radius, so we're passing in that radius which is 1/4 of the width of this view. Then we have a start angle and an end angle. Now you'll notice for the end angle, I'm using pi, and I'm multiplying it by 0.5. And what that's giving us is this curve right here, but it's not completing the circle. So it's actually giving us this cutoff right here. And then we've set the clockwise to false. So for clockwise, you're either going to draw it clockwise or it's going to be drawn counterclockwise. So we've set that to false. Then we went ahead and set the color for this and the line width. Then we close the path. This closed path again is what is giving us this line here. And then for the second circle, which is this smaller one, it's basically half a circle. And the reason for that is because we're using pi as the end angle. If you want it to complete the circle, what you would use is a pi times 2. And so that'll give you 2 of these half circles. It'll put them together for you. And when you do that, you really don't have to worry about whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. So if I actually set this to false, what would happen is it would go ahead and draw the path in the other direction, and you'll notice this circle will be flipped over. This half circle will be flipped over. So if I restart this, it'll go ahead and it'll show that circle flipped over. Oh, so actually I left this as pi times 2. So that's a quick example of completing the circle. Let's start this again. And now it should give us that circle that's flipped over. All right, so that's exactly what I mean by the clockwise. It just draws it in the other direction. Okay, so now that we've seen what you can do with the add arc with center, let's take this even further by combining it with some of the other functionality you can do with drawing paths. So let me go ahead and just collapse this. I'll comment out this example, and then I'm going to uncomment all this code right here. So these are two methods. One is line and one is circles. Let me go ahead and expand the circles here. So this method right here takes an X and a Y value, and we're using that for our center point. So we're setting the center X to X and the center Y to Y. Then what we're doing is creating a new path, just like we've done previously with the other shapes, and we're setting an add arc with center. Since we're setting this n angle to pi times 2, it's going to give us a complete circle. And then we're setting the radius to 10, so it's going to be a smaller circle here. And we're going ahead and filling that in and giving it a stroke. Then if you notice above, we have that line method right here. If I expand it down here, what that line is doing is it's taking an x1 and a y1 and an x2 and a y2. And what it's doing is it's creating a line that goes from one coordinate to the next. And I'm basically using this to connect the dots. So as you can see up here, we have a lot of the same values here. We have 30 and 400, so you got 30 and 400, 60 and 350, and 60 and 350. So it's again joining those circles together. So you can probably guess what we're going to be doing here. It's going to be very similar to a graph that shows dots for where the values are. So this is just going to be a quick example. Let me go ahead and restart our simulator. It's going to go ahead and take those two circles out and replace it with these lines and these circles that we've created here. All right, so this is working out perfectly. Now this is just an example of what you can do in terms of drawing objects on your view. You can definitely, again, take this to the next level, have your application draw these objects dynamically depending on the data that you pass through, and really make this a visually appealing drawing for your users of your app. So I hope this video helps you in some way. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video.